Nigeria network of religious leaders living with or personally affected by HIV/AIDS, Nina Rella. Have three very important people in the building now. A fourth person will be joining us very shortly. I have a very beautiful lady. I'm talking about Amber Itoha. Did I pronounce it right? Itoha. I like that name, man. I always don't know how to pronounce it. Amber Itoha. Eriwihe. No, please, can you pronounce it?
Amber Erimiye.
Erimiye?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So Amber Itoha Erimiye from Ninarella. She's the national coordinator in Ninarella. And then we have Mr. Bamidele A. Jacobs. He is from Lawyers Alert, Director of Litigation, Lawyers Alert. You're very welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Also, one of my very favorite, Mr. Ike Nawakama, he's the one that brings me out in conversation. You see how he's sitting very calm. See how he's sitting very calm like this. No. Don't trust his calmness. Don't trust his calmness. He has a lot of information. He's also from Ninarella. You're very welcome, sir.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so today's edition is like a continuation from last week's conversation, talking about the Anti-Discriminatory Act. But today we are focusing more on education, access to justice and legal education for people living with HIV/AIDS and also the entire populace. Because I think that if everybody knows, it's better for us, both the people living with and the people who are not living with. But first of all, we always like to have an introduction of what Ninarella is all about, so that just for you that is just tuning in today, it will just help you. So next time, just keep a date with us. So Mr. Ike, please talk to us again about Ninarella. What's it all about?
All right. So thank you again for having me. Ninarella, like you rightly pointed out, is a faith-based organization, and we are the Nigerian affiliate of International Network of Religions living with or personally affected by. So we've been active in the national HIV response, but over the years, we've been working in the area of areas of stigma reduction, prevention, care, and support generally. For this particular project we are carrying out that is supported by Christian Aid and Gilead Foundation, we are working on improving access to HIV services through mobilization of faith leaders for stigma reduction and, of course, for treatment, access to treatment and right information. All
right, so I'm going straight to you, my darling Itohan. I'm going to call you Itohan. I'm not even about to be doing English name. So as national coordinator, what has it been like, doing this HIV response conversation? How has the reception been and the response?
Respect. They all belong led by how we could educate, pass right information to religious leaders for them to pass through their followers. It has not been easy over the years, but it has been awesome. Working with religious leaders to create congregation has really been awesome because we're beginning to see that people are taking a different shape. They are beginning to adhere to things. People now, we know that stigma and discrimination is very useful. Yes, we will not say that and discrimination living with AIDS or gender people who are abused are not still there, but the fact is reducing a little, and because we have been able to look at who are the right stakeholders that we could hold to. Those are religious leaders.
Great.
So when we started engaging religious, it was difficult, but
with time.
Along the line, with time, lot of them are beginning to that yes, it is important for not just preaching the spiritual aspect of it. You need to also look at their health issues. in your paid company.
Okay, great. So can you give the mic to, yes, Mr. Jacobs, Mr. Bamdele Jacobs. You've been a legal expert now. I want to look at it from last week. We talked about the Anti-Discrimination Act and how it has not been able to be properly infused into our system. For example, we don't have SANS. We don't have like big lawyers that are really, really rooting behind the acceptance of the Anti-Discrimination Act. Nobody is really fighting to see that, you know, when you go to court, you know, these cases are propelled very fast. Nobody's pushing for the plight of these people. But I want to talk about access to justice. You know, what is it that you're doing?
Yes, an organization.
Yes, as an organization. What is it that Lawyers Alert? Yes. What is the Lawyers Alert is doing?
One, I think I should start by actually introducing Lawyers Alert here.
Okay.
Lawyers Alert is a human rights organization, offer free legal services for people, to vulnerable groups and key populations in society.
Yes.
So we offer free legal services to them. We also ensure access to justice for Nigerians, citizens in general, specifically, just as I've said, to vulnerable groups in society and also for key populations.
Okay.
So that is what we.
Okay, great. So what is it that Lawyers Alert right now is doing? Because you see, one of the you mentioned vulnerable people, and I think that people living with HIV/AIDS they fall into that category.
Yes. Over the years, Lawyers Alert had cause to actually approach the court in civil matters to actually want to fight and ensure that the rights of those who have their rights infringed upon are actually redressed. And specifically, as I speak now, we have nothing less than 3 cases pending in different courts. In fact, specifically, we have 2 at the National Industrial Court here, and we are rights of people living with AIDS and HIV being infringed upon. But there was specifically one who was employed, but the moment the employer discovered that he was HIV positive, he had to terminate his employment. So he was referred to us, he approached us, we got his brief, and we had to approach the court. And we also have about 2 other cases, similar cases that are pending in different stages of
litigation. No. So look at my conversation. Like we were saying yesterday, last week. Apart from just taking these cases to court, I think that lawyers can do more. You know, last week it seemed that, you know, I was pushing on the barrister from NACA so much that, you know, she didn't understand me. Lawyers can do more. We're talking about access to justice. You know, it's more than just taking a case to court and just following it every day and then it's there 5 years, 10 years. No. I think that lawyers can actually, as an organization, lawyers can actually, you know, make their voices be heard, not just on behalf of these people, but for them to know that in this issue, we have a stake in it, because there are going to be, I'm sure that there are lawyers that are people living with HIV/AIDS.
You're correct.
Yeah. So what is it that the lawyers are doing now? As a lawyer, I'm making it personal. As a lawyer, what are you throwing into the mix to say to yourself, in 2 years, I want to be able to go to court and not have to take this long time for my case, for me to win my case?
That's what we're talking about. That's a general thing. It is not something that is specific.
I think that it's a specific because there will be cases that we bring to court that will be struck out or just for want of evidence. You know, they'll be treated very fast. But in cases with concerning people living with HIV/AIDS, it seems like, you know what, it's not really a serious issue. So it's pending. Don't worry, bring this. They'll keep pending. And even as a lawyer, because it's a pro bono case, I'm sure you really don't feel like, you know, I should do so much to it. You know, they just say, you know what, I have another case where I get one client will pay me. You know, I feel like lawyers are not doing enough. Don't get me wrong. I know that every sector has a part to play, but you see, in cases, we're talking about improving access to justice. If the lawyers themselves are not counting themselves worthy to do more, then why should I, as a media person, do more?
I don't think that view is correct. To say lawyers have not been doing much because these cases are pro bono. Honestly, I can't remember that Lawyers Alert, for example, does everything. Now, like we got order of court, a ruling in our favor at the FCT High Court, for example, and that has to do with, I mean, we brought a case, even though that is not specifically on HIV/AIDS positive individuals, but it has to do with female sex workers.
Okay.
We brought in a matter to enforce their rights, and there was this objection raised by the other party
Okay.
as to whether we even have a local standard
Okay.
to actually bring that case.
Okay.
Eventually went into arguments, we exchanged pleadings, filed processes, and then we had a ruling in our favor.
Okay.
And right now too, the cases we have, the 3 cases that I talked about earlier, now 2 pending at the National Industrial Court in Abuja here. There are different stages of conclusion. In fact, for one of them, all that we are left with is to conclude evidence, and for the court to give judgment as it relates to the case.
All right, over to you, Mr. Ikenna. My conversation as a faith-based organization, which you are, how have you helped to make sure that there is legal education, there is empowerment for people to actually know about what we're talking about, how maybe they're right. For example, in the Anti-Discriminatory Act, there have been rights that have been accrued to people living with HIV/AIDS. Do they know that they can seek redress? Do they know that they can complain? Do people have this information?
Yeah, okay, fine. In fact, that's the area we are scoring our high points, because I think last week I said that if every other people who are working in other areas are doing the way we are doing, we will achieve a lot of results. For us as people, faith-based organization, we've done something fantastic. We've simplified the act. We produce a faith-based version of it. Now, we are using it to engage faith leaders. And let me tell you a story. Last week, 2 weeks ago, we went to Benue to evaluate what we've done the past year. We had a report from the Khan Benue State about the encounter. They went to church using this document we produced to engage faith leaders. A particular church that was that they are insisting on compulsory HIV testing, and there was this issue. Somebody asked, "How can we leave our own church law for a law that is made by man? Which one is more superior?" One thing, like I was saying, that for the fact that we actually ignited that discussion, that debate is an achievement. Before now, there was no discussion about that. People are just doing their thing as the spirit directs. But we've been able to use this document to engage faith leaders. Say, look, the beautiful thing about this is that we produce we use verses from the Bible and Quran to support each component of the art. So if you go legal area, we meet you there. You go spiritual, we meet you there. So there's no escape route, and that's what we've done. And apart from that, we've been working with some theological schools to now bring these things into the curriculum. Because you know that at that formation stage, that's where you teach these people, these pastors, to know the right thing. Otherwise, they become ordained and they keep teaching people as the Spirit directs. So I worked with about 15 theological schools to make sure that we have these things in their curriculum, to teach them at that level, and when they come out, now know the right information and how to pass them. Yes, we've not actually, I wouldn't say the way we've actually loved to do, we've done that. We are working right now in 2 states. That's just a little. Even in that 2 states, we're working about a few churches. It's just a pilot. But what we've achieved so far is fantastic. And we are not letting, we are going further, we are moving ahead. But the fact that we produce this document, we are using it to engage faith leaders. And in fact, we've given it to all the SACAs in Nigeria. NACA has the document. We are saying, look, use this to engage them. And we're engaging them. And we're doing better in that area.
Okay, great. In the spirit of partnership, I seem to think that maybe not a lot of faith-based organizations have come on board with this.
I agree with you. Really, because faith leaders are, like I said, HIV is both political in every sense of it. Trust me, some pastors in particular love using HIV to get people. And the time you engage them on this issue, because the insistence is that it's a penalty for sin. So when you want to engage them on their angle, it's like you're dismantling their canon.
All right, I'm going to cut you short right there. We'll take a very fantastic short break. When we come back, our 4 guests will be in the building, and so we'll continue the conversation. Remember, we are talking about access to justice and also legal education.
I would call it popular.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to hold you right there so that when we come back from the break, we can open up the phone lines and then you can expand more on that. Let's take a short break. We'll be right back. Stigma reduction strategy that NACA had put together. So you were saying something.
Yes. So I was trying to tell you about the stigma reduction strategies. It's a policy document.
Okay.
Developed not just by NACA but by stakeholders as well. And it's a 9-point like a 9-point agenda sort of thing. So it brings out the different
Salient
objectives.
points.
Yes. Which, if implemented, should be able to bring down the stigma reduction rate.
Yeah.
It's talking about reducing stigma in health institutions, in churches, educational institutions, in schools, even within the family, in the community. It's also talking about how to identify situations that can actually trigger discrimination and stigma.
Okay.
Yes, it also focuses on stigma even in the workplace. So it's a comprehensive document that highlights what the issues are and also brings out steps that can be taken to mitigate problems.
Yeah.
At the same time, with UNDP, NACA's worked with UNDP to conduct what we call a legal environment assessment. So what that is we've taken a look at all the laws that are existing today that one way or the other, directly or indirectly, affect people with HIV or conflict the Anti-Discrimination Act or something.
Yeah.
And we've taken a look, we've done an assessment of that. From that assessment, we've been able to develop a plan of action that would commence from next year. And then this would bring up issues of advocacy, maybe to legislation, to also bring up advocacy for funding and things like that.
Okay.
So these are some of the things that are
NACA has
ongoing.
done.
Yes.
Okay, so over to you, Amber. I'm looking at, if someone wants to know in my office now, I want to know what discrimination looks like. I want to know what stigma looks like. We've been talking about anti-discrimination, and my listener will just be saying, this big grammar that is happening. What's going on right here? So like, what is it that I will see that will make me, if I'm a person living with HIV/AIDS, what is it that a person will do that will make me, feel like, okay, oh, now that's discrimination?
Okay, thank you very much. Stigma and discrimination is two different things, but they are both together.
Okay.
We have stigma in different levels.
Okay.
We have self-stigmatization.
Okay.
A lot of persons who are living with HIV, some of them actually stigmatize themselves.
Okay.
We have public stigmatization, where people don't want you when you're sitting. That's what we have in the church or in the mosque today. When they know that this person is HIV positive, or this person has faced one email or the other, maybe a rape case as well, they tend to stigmatize the person, like, oh, we don't want to move with this person because we don't want us to be associated with you. A lot of people have been stigmatized from their homes because they are HIV positive. Okay. We just have a case, we lost the patient a week ago. 3 weeks ago, we were called to Kaduna of one person who was stigmatized by the family because they knew she was HIV positive. The mother locked her up in the room. For more than 3 days, there was no food. She couldn't come out in the dark room until our state coordinator, who is a religious leader, she got to know about it. She rushed to the place to find out why they have done that. The mother have traveled. The room was locked up, padlocked, and the lady was inside, has not eaten, has not bathed for days. She had to break the door and brought out the lady. They quickly took her to the hospital. She bathed her. They went to buy her food, and they quickly administered drugs to her. But of course, because at that time she was already entering another stage from HIV. Of course, we know when they're not taking their drugs, they move into AIDS thereabout. So a lot of people have been stigmatized. Stigmatization is when you're not aligned with the person. You try to stigmatize the person because of the condition,
disassociating yourself with
of the person. Then stigmatization, discrimination. Sorry, it's another level of it where you are being denied of your rights. A lot of people have been denied, like the Collag lawyer has talked about people who were driven out from their job because they get to know that they are HIV positive. That's discrimination. Everybody has a right. The first thing we say is that everybody are Nigerians, and we are looking at health is right. Now we are commemorating the World AIDS Day, and the theme of the World AIDS Day says health is right for everybody. So it means that everybody has right to health for everybody. So when you infringe on someone's right, you're discriminating the person. When the person is supposed to have this job and you're saying no, because you're HIV positive, you're not allowed to. And not only in workplaces, we say there are discriminations too in the church. By the time in the mosque, in the church, if I'm not allowed to marry who I want to marry because the person is HIV positive, so it means that you have discriminated the person.
All right, it's time for me to open the phone lines, 08189991011. If you have questions and contributions, but I want you to be part of the show, call us and let's have a conversation. Hello? Yes, hello. Good afternoon, sir.
Huh?
Good afternoon, sir. Hello, this is Human Rights Radio.
Good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon, sir.
I just tried line. I couldn't get you guys, so I just changed the number. I don't know.
Okay, do remember to call us back. Be part of the conversation, Mr. Ike. I really never saw stigma and discrimination like that. You did a fine job, Amber, by breaking it down. So stigma is association, discrimination is being denied of rights, right? Okay, so you wanted to say something?
Yeah, just to add to what you said. I mean, you just simply put stigma is this perception, all right? How you perceive it to be self or enacted or perceived.
Let me hold you there. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon, sir. What's your name?
This is Mr. Joshua calling from Musetu.
All right, talk to me, sir.
I have a friend that has HIV,
Yeah.
but he was supposed to have a job somewhere, and they stopped him from his job. What is he supposed to do?
Okay, what is supposed to do? All right, keep listening. You have lawyers in the house. This is when they will not answer my question. All right, keep the calls coming in. Complaints, contributions, feel free. 08189991011. Over to you, lawyers. Mr. There's a lot, please. Okay. Okay, finish before.
So,
yes.
like I was saying, there's this structural one that things we do that we think is just normal, but we are discriminating. I'll give you an instance. Look at health insurance in Nigeria.
Sorry, I've already opened the lines.
Okay.
The phones will keep calling. Hello? Hello? Okay.
Like I was saying, health insurance in Nigeria. Why would you just say, okay, we're covering everything but HIV, no? That's insistence.
That's discrimination.
All right. Just saying no. That means you've actually said this is no go area for me. All right. Why would some people, embassies say you must do HIV test before you come for HIV for a visa? Why would somebody say before you wait you must get HIV? Why not cancer? Why not hepatitis? Why not genotype? Why is it insistence on HIV? Why would somebody go to school and say no? It must be a HIV test.
I get that now. Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Yes, good afternoon, sir. What's your name?
My name is you are calling from Kazarko local government area of Kaduna State.
Thank you, sir. All right, sir, talk to me.
My question says that. Hello?
I can hear you, sir. Hello? Did you get shy? Please try and call us back. And if it's network, don't you worry. The network will be fantastic very shortly. Okay, sir, you were saying something.
Yeah, so these are structural things we do. Maybe we think innocently we are doing things to favor our own business, but we are doing worse than that. Because first, the perception people are having that the person who is positive is feeling that he's done. I mean, he has no hope. I know somebody who, fantastic girl, had a good 2-1 in school, but I asked her to go for one scholarship, saying I can't because I don't want anybody to ask me for HIV test.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, sir. What's your name?
My name is Mr. Cornelius Ocean. I'm calling from Lifescan, Abuja.
All right, Mr. Cornelius, talk to me.
Please, I want to comment in the area of discrimination, which is denial of rights.
Okay.
Recently, a friend of mine called me
Yes.
who has a supermarket,
Okay.
a restaurant. So to interview some of the applicants, and the criteria was that anyone, they must bring their medical reports, and if you have HIV/AIDS, you should automatically disqualified. So I inquired to know why. Is it not discrimination? They said that these people are manipulating food. So you cannot be serving someone food when you are a victim of HIV. You don't know what might happen. So when he explained further, so actually I sent those applicants to go and bring their reports, and some of them were victims. They were disqualified. They did not even appear for any other aspect of the interview.
Okay.
I don't know whether this discrimination is contradicting or is for the safety of the customers. I don't understand.
Okay,
so
sir.
the foreign lawyer can he put me through?
Yes, he will. All right, thank you so much, Shaiba. While the calls keep coming in, I would allow Mr. Lawyers Alert, please answer the first question.
Okay. Before I even
Before you even start, let me just take one more call. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon, ma. What's your name?
Hello, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. My name is Hope.
Hi, Hope.
Hi, Brooke.
Great.
I am really happy about the topic that you're talking about.
Okay.
I don't know if it's the doctor or who that just commented, the man, the studio.
Okay.
Fantastic points. Because these are things we see happen every day, and it is very bad. Very, very bad. I have a friend who is positive. This friend cannot work because of that. Because everywhere you go to ask you to run a test, and you know how embarrassing it is.
That's right.
For you to come with the results of the test and you're showing this. The person looks very healthy. The person looks okay because she's taking her medication. But the discrimination is just too much. It got to a point when she wanted to get married. She did not even know then that she had it. It wasn't as if she's a promiscuous person, like, going from one man to another. She's not. But she just noticed she had it. They broke up the relationship. The guy did not do it again. The guy said, the doctor told me that it is very bad for me to live with somebody with HIV. Is that normal? Which doctor will say a thing like that? But it is possible. A doctor will say a thing like that. So you begin to wonder, this stigmatized, the discrimination is just too much for them to live with.
Wow.
So if there's anything, if there's anything the government can do, because it's easier said than done. People are making comments, everybody is saying something, but it's easier said than done.
Yes, hope.
These people need help. You cannot just sit with somebody and you have HIV. It's not possible. You cannot sit with somebody and then you have HIV. It is not possible. And some of these people, they don't even know how they contacted it. So let us try as much as possible to live with them. It hurts. I have so many things to say, but I just have to pack to make this call, and I'm so happy I did.
But your hope. Your name is Hope. You have to give us hope. You have to give us hope.
Yes.
We have to keep having hope. All right. Thank you so much for calling, Hope.
Thank you very much.
You have a fantastic day.
Afternoon.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye, Hope. It's out of my hands now, sir. Over to you.
Yes, I was saying before I actually respond to the first question, it is important for me to say this about discrimination. Now, when we say discrimination takes place where you simply deny or give a privilege to an individual over others on the basis of sex, religion, ethnicity, on health status, and so forth and so on. And so it will not be correct of us to always look at discrimination as being negative. Sometimes when you give a privilege to somebody that, and you will not give the same privilege to another person on the basis of what we have spoken about, what I've itemized, and so many others, that amounts to discrimination.
Yes.
Okay, then over to the question from the first caller that says somebody went for a job interview and they were required to carry out a medical a test. Okay. I mean, which included the HIV test.
Yes.
Honestly, the HIV/AIDS Anti-Discrimination Law Act that was passed in 2014 actually criminalizes that, which means no employer has power or no employer has the authority to require HIV tests as a precondition for employment. And so each time that happens, all that the person needs to do is to do what? Is to either write to the Minister of Justice, intimating him with such an information, or approach a human rights organization. I think that will always be better, because if he approaches just a lawyer, a lot of us practicing lawyers may not be interested in that area. But honestly, we have organizations, we have lawyers, organizations and bodies that are actually fighting to see that the rights of citizens are respected. Okay, so the only advice I will give him is to approach, and I have told him about, I've told everybody about Lawyers Act. I think I will advise him probably to come to Lawyers Alert office.
Okay.
Yes.
Please, talking to Mr. Ade, the second and third conversations.
I think the second question was from Mr. Cornelius. He was talking about someone who was disqualified from his work or denied the right to work because of his status. Just like he has said, the law is very clear. It states that an HIV test should not be a precondition for employment. It also states clearly that because of someone's HIV status, the person should not be taken out of employment. So on two sides, there are laws to protect whoever is caught up in this.
Okay.
We find out that sometimes these things happen. We shouldn't deny the fact. You find out people walk into an office and then they say, go and conduct a test, medical test, and they probably don't even tell you that they're also going to be taking out a HIV test. Now that in itself is wrong, even from the health facility. Because at the health facility, before you can carry out a HIV test on someone, you must get consent. And apart from getting consent, the result must be released just to that person.
To the patient.
So you find out that even that is wrong, even from the part of the hospital on different levels. Before you can even after you've given your consent, before you can even carry out the test, you must first of all be counseled. When you've even received your result, whether it's positive or negative, there's still post-counseling. So you find out that a lot of these things are not happening and they are wrong. So you find out that the employer is at fault. Even the health facilities that carry out these tests without asking for your consent are wrong. The health facilities that carry your test results and send them directly to your employer, knowing that there's a HIV test result within that slip or that result, is wrong. Of course, we've seen where employers will say, send us the results. That is done maybe for medical fitness and all that. But once you have conducted a HIV test, that result is personal. It doesn't have to be within that what you're sending back to the employer. It's given directly to. So you find out that is wrong on different levels. And like he has said, if anyone is involved in that or has been affected with that, they should be able to go to lawyers. You can walk freely even into my office at NACA. You can come to NACA. We'll talk to you. We'll be able to direct you to the appropriate organization that can help you out. We can send you to the National Human Rights. Work with Legal Aid Council. So we've even with the Ministry of Justice, with the Citizens Rights Department. We work closely. Okay. So you should be able to come out and claim what is yours and then seek redress, and then we should be able to address this issue. The second question from Hope. I'm not sure.
No. You didn't really address, what Cornelius was talking about.
Okay.
In that situation, he said people had to deal with food, and for the safety of the customer or the consumer, they are saying if a person is living with HIV/AIDS, the person is not supposed to deal with food and all that. So he's saying that as regards the discrimination, are we not also looking out for the customers or the
I get you. This is very, very interesting because it's a very important point. I think sometime this week we had a stakeholders meeting with ILO, that's the International Labour Organization, and these sort of issues were at the front burner. And what it means is that every organization, which is what we're also trying to implement, and one of the things NACA is doing, working with ILO and the NLC, is that workplaces must have HIV workplace policy. Now, when you have a HIV workplace policy, it ensures that you create reasonable accommodation for whichever member I don't know
whatever employee
exactly have that is HIV positive. And what that entails is that you ensure that that person is working within an environment that is safe and secure and
that
reduces the risk of transmission.
Thank you
Understand? So that is what is important. So if you want to employ someone in a restaurant and you feel the person tells you, my HIV positive, this is my status. With your HIV,
you can find another
policy, yes, you can say, in that case, your job is to take out the trash and do this and do that. You've reduced the risk of transmission, but you shouldn't deny the person a job, because the fact that the person is HIV positive doesn't mean the person should not earn a living. So that's just
okay, fantastic. I think that for Mr. Jacobs wants to say something.
Yes, I just want to add about 2 points to what my colleague had just said. Now, one. Now, the law provides that when you are giving your consent to an HIV test, now it is not just going to be an ordinary consent.
It's a verbal consent,
an informed consent.
You know what you're doing,
and what that informed consent means is that you must be told, it must be explained to you what you're about to do, and apart from that, the risk associated with that and the privileges accruing to you must all be explained to you. Because what we have discovered over time that employers do is simply that employers who hide this HIV test, the requirement of HIV test, in one of the documents somewhere, and at the close of that document, you will see sign if you consent to all these tests. And so you just simply sign, you go to conduct the test, and when you come, they hold you to it that you actually consented to actually going for that test. Whereas it has not been explained to you, it should be specifically brought out and explained to you, so you know what you have gone to or do. That is one.
Yeah. Hello. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. What's your name?
It's Stanley from.
All right. Talk to me.
Yeah, I want to relate the postmortem that lawyer just said.
Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. What did you say?
I want to support what that other lawyer just said.
Okay.
I love what he just said about the transmission.
Okay,
I want to ask a question.
Ask.
Does it mean that anybody that has this kind of sickness transmission,
Yes.
they don't have jobs in the country at all?
you're saying that anybody living with HIV/AIDS should be able to have jobs, right?
That's my question.
Thank you so much. Yes.
Because I heard that there's a person that went for a job,
Yes.
and when they asked him to go and verify his sex and discovered that the HIV status, they denied him the job.
That was
And so I don't know, is it proper?
okay. Thank you so much for that contribution.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think I'm going to take any other calls so that we can have more of the conversations. Just round
Okay,
up
so
so that I can talk
the
to
second part of my addition is
Amber.
this: that now, well, there is an exemption to the fact that HIV test should not be a requirement to employment. There's an exemption to that, as provided by the law, and that is simply that the law is saying where that is to take place at all, either in the private or public institution. What should be required is that there must be a certificate by 2 competent authorities saying that it is required that an HIV test must be conducted to certify that whoever is going to work here is not positive. Now, let's take note of that. 2 competent authorities working independently. That is, this one working on its own, another one working on its own. So for that kind of organization, all that organization needs to do is to go and get this kind of certificate from 2 competent, even though the law has not gone ahead define what competent, what
Competent meant in that
meant in that law.
Yeah.
But simply is that the organization should have gone ahead to get certificates from 2 competent organizations saying it is important that an HIV test must be conducted as a precondition for anybody that is to be employed. So that is the exemption to that.
Okay, let me talk to Amber before I go back to Mr. Ade. Amber, the lawyers have had their own conversation on, this discrimination and all that. But in one of the conversations that Hope was saying, and also your dealings with people living with HIV/AIDS, Hope was talking about how her friend, her husband-to-be broke off the relationship, because he just realized a doctor told him that, I will not advise you to do this, What's your thought on that?
Okay, I was going to respond to that.
Okay.
Like there's this, I used to engage religious leaders. I always say that HIV is not a moral issue, but is a virus. Now, why HIV? Why do we say because they are HIV, they can't get work, because they are HIV, you can't get married? Why not malaria? Why not? Malaria is dangerous. It kills faster than HIV. Like I always engage religious leader when I'm training there. I said, my father died of malaria 1+. Not HIV. I've had bosses who have been living with HIV for 20 years. I went to a meeting yesterday and a woman said, look at me, I've been living with HIV for 20 years and she's still alive. So why are we discriminating them? Now, for me, we have got to know that it is the kind of messages that religious or people have had over the years, like the ABC, which talked about abstain from what sex, B, be faithful of what sex, C, be condomize of what sex. It all entails around sex. So that's why people say that it's a moral issue. But we keep engaging religious leaders and say, no, HIV/AIDS is not a moral issue, but a virus. And it's also important for us to know that someone who has HIV, if I sleep with the person, I will not contract HIV. If I drink water from the cup that the person used in taking water or tea, I will not contract HIV. It is not a airborne disease. HIV is not an airborne disease. It is a virus that runs through the blood. So until there is a blood contact, there will not be transmission. So when people are saying, no, I don't want this person to work here because it's going to, the risk of transmission is going to be high. No, but I think that what people should be concerned of is giving people education. And a lot of people who are living with HIV, yes, they still need education so that they will know how to, positive living. There's what we call positive living, so that they live positively and live right. So if you are discriminating somebody on the basis of because the person is positive and that's why the person must not get a job or not get married, that is infringing on their rights because the law penalizes it. And also to say that they are what we call discordant couples. If A
is positive and B is not positive. If they agree to come together, they can live and have their children. The other one will still be positive, the other one will still be negative, and their children will remain negative. Just for them to adhere to their drugs, because when the person who is positive is taking his or her AROV, you are actually protecting the other person who is not. And when they are enrolled, if it's the woman and is enrolled into ANC, they put the person through PMTCT, prevention of mother to child transmission of HIV and AIDS, and you see that the mother will fantastically have a baby. We have had couples who are positive, their husband are negative, they have kids. I just came back from Anambra a week ago. Our state coordinator there, she's openly living positive. Her husband is negative for over 16 years, and they have 4 kids. None of them is positive. So there are places of discordant couples. But where we are coming in is that we need to educate people, not only religious leaders, even the medical personnel. A lot of them, because if you look at what Hope said, it is the medical personnel who advised the person not to go on with the marriage, which is wrong. So we need to start investing on education, and that's why we are calling on all stakeholders. If you are doing what we are doing, we are engaging religious leaders, training them. Let others come up. Let's start educating people so that they can all know what is right.
Okay, good. I'm going to round up with Mr. Ike, but before that, please, can I talk to Mr. Ade? You know, Mr. Jacobs talked about, Barrister Jacobs talked about how, you know, there are laws protecting. You also mentioned about laws protecting. But you see, telling me to go and write to Minister of Justice, my brother, is a long thing. Who Minister of Justice here? Telling me to go and meet a Barrister Jacob, like it's hard. It's not because Barrister Jacob came to the studio. Where do I go to and see Barrister Jacobs? I go into your coalition of lawyers, and people like, my brother, you have to bring something, you know. How are these sanctions, you know, how are they going to get to the ordinary man? Because if I'm in Enugu and this thing happened to me, my letter has not passed to Secretary of State, to what am I saying, Commissioner, not more of writing to Minister of Justice, you understand? So how would these sanctions actually, because it's like a barking dog that can't bite. That's what this thing looks like. You know, I was discriminated against, they didn't give me job. Because all this thing we're doing in Nigeria, people really don't care. People really don't care. We're talking about this thing so much, and it looks like this. Institutions and systems of government really don't care. I will tell you that even in the Ministry of Health, there will be people that have no information about this, about people living with HIV and AIDS. I will tell you about access to justice being denied to people in Ministry of Health, in different ministries of health in different states. So how is it that I will get my due? I will seek a redress and it will work. You know, what is it that I will do? Because apart from, I know that I'm also working with some civil society organizations that are trying to form some certain school clubs, you know, starting from the grassroots, primary schools and secondary schools. I have a friend, I know plenty of people that are living with HIV, as in, because you don't know. Most people, I remember how far that, you know, that some people have gone, and I'm like, this is what information does. The moment this person says to the other person, oh, do you know that he or she has? You have been living your life for 20 years with this person without any change of attitude. Nothing happened to you. You've not been infected. But the moment that information comes to the person, you see how it's very automatic. Everybody starts to change the way they behave to that person. You know, so how is it that I will get that redress?
Thank you very much. This problem of getting your redress is actually not particular to HIV and discrimination. You find out that there are a lot of laws in Nigeria. A lot of them are not being implemented. A lot of them are not being enforced.
So why are we making laws if they are not going to be enforced?
You find out that, sorry to call out police that is meant to...
Say sorry, please call out names.
And police that is meant to interpret and execute and implement. Yes. You know, most of them don't even know half of the laws that exist. So you find out that the anti-discrimination law is a law. You don't even have to write to the Ministry of Justice. Walk into a police station. It's your right. Your right has been abused. You have to walk into a police station and say, my office down the road, I just got sacked because I'm HIV positive. And they should be able to respond. You understand? So that is why NACA looking towards having trainings for police officers, for judges, for lawyers, for labor inspectors that will go to workplaces, so that people are aware that law is there. And if you break it, you would get punished for it. Another thing we're also looking at is not just training those people, also training, even schools. We're even looking at training even networks of people with HIV and AIDS. Because the truth of if I don't know I wouldn't even know my right has been abused. I wouldn't even know I've been discriminated
Very true.
against.
Very true.
I wouldn't even know I can walk up to a policeman and tell him this is what has happened, and he would actually respond. I wouldn't know I can walk into Kolaha, and then they would actually listen to me. So you find out that people living with HIV and AIDS also need to be aware of what their rights are. A lawyer would not just sit in his chamber and just go to court and say, I believe somebody's right is being abused somewhere in Gariki, so I want to file a case. Somebody has to come and complain to him. So if you don't go and meet a lawyer, the lawyer would not go to court.
But
so
see, most people just think that this
yes.
thing is pro bono. It's not always supposed to be pro bono, I think. And you know, I think that there will be a lot of people, because there's an outcry everywhere. And that's where I'm going to end this conversation with you, Mr. Ikena. There's an outcry, and you know, people are saying we don't support this. We don't want this to happen. We don't. For people like Hope, who have friends who have been discriminated against, who have been stigmatized, you know, what is there? For example, you have Gilead Foundation and Christian Aid, you know, supporting and partnering with you. How easy is it to partner with Ninarella? You know, because you see, we need it to get to a place where it's an outcry, where there's a massive disruption, where people need to understand that, you see what, you know, we're not going to go to work today. We're not going to do anything until our voices are heard. Because until the government sees that its people are serious about demanding for its right, until it has become an anathema for you to discriminate a person living with HIV and AIDS, we won't have any conversation. Because if you walk into the police station and make that complaint, they will look at you like, really, that's what you brought to the police station? Or they will say, oh God, find me something. They do it in many police stations, you understand? So we need to come to a point where even the police know that it's part of the thing. Because if it's not somebody stole something, you know, but even rape, cases of rape, police don't even take it as serious as it is. So how easy is it to partner with you, and how far have you gone to actually reach out for partnership, for funding? Because I know a lot of groups that are out there that will want to partner with you.
Well, how to partner with us? We are open, and in fact, why we are here today is because we want to partner with everybody. Yes, supporting us mustn't be giving us money. Supporting the cause, we are fine with that. But again, of course, with money,
you need money.
Push,
I mean, you
and
need
we are
money
open
to
for that. All right. So what we are doing now is fantastic. All right. We believe in heating up the discussion, because over time there is this silence that has covered HIV issues over the time. Nobody wants to talk about it. It's so secret, and that secrecy is helping HIV to grow. And we are trying to destroy that silence, break the silence, and we'll keep talking about it. And that's what we're doing. But just to add to this, we feel that it is not enough to make laws. It's not enough to trend. We need to enforce. How do we enforce this? The law is there clear. If you don't have your HIV policy, workplace policy, you pay a fine of between 10,000 to 500,000. But nobody is doing it. That's all we can do it. Last time, NACA just called for expression of interest for contractors. I was expecting to see, for you to come, we must see your HIV policy as a pre-qualification. For Ministry of Work to say you're a consultant, you are working here, put it there, HIV policy, workplace policy. You want to open a school, HIV policy. This, we need it structurally placed so that people will know. When you make it, people say, which one is this one again now? You know how serious it is. With that, you don't need to go far. People, we penalize them, they wake up.
That's right.
People can drive for years without driving license. The day we just carry them, bam,
they will do it.
They will know there's a law existing. So we need to begin to enforce the law systematically. All right? Talking, yes, the conscience is high, but structurally, let's now make sure that
once you start to,
we are putting people on the right track.
Well, institutions and systems are put by government to either reward or to penalize people, or to penalize the public on certain grounds, and this is where we end this one. I feel like just having this conversation all through today, but sadly I have Prosumers Forum coming up very shortly. It has been a wonderful time talking to you, Barrister Jacobs, Miss Amba Itoha, Mr. Ikena. Thank you so much, Mr. Ade. Thank you so much for affording us this because I'm so excited. I feel like I'm the one that has gained. I know my listeners should have gained, but I've gained a lot. For me, the thought of stigmatization and discrimination, I really didn't think it through before. But now it's just like I'm more informed, and when a person knows better, they do better. It has been a wonderful time right here on Health is Live till I come your way again tomorrow on Health is Live. Do stay tuned. Remember that Prosumers Forum will be coming up, but remember, demand to know your rights. As a person living with HIV/AIDS, as a regular citizen, demand to know this right. The laws have been put out there for you. So, you already know the kind of person I am. Now, police people, just be looking out for me. Any small conversation, you will just see me there. And let it not be that in this police station you don't know. See, go and know now. Police station, hospitals, go and know. Because let it not be that you don't know. It will trend that a whole police. You already know my conversation. Tracy, Mary, please do take me out. Coming up shortly is Prosumers Forum, and today we are talking about online marketing, cybersecurity, and fraud. Who's to blame? Do stay tuned. Now, there's like this mad rush now. Everybody is selling stuff on Instagram. Everybody's selling stuff on online, the Jumias, the Kongas, and with it also has come internet fraud, cyber crime. Everything is on the rise. Until today on Prosumers Forum, we are talking about cybersecurity, internet fraud. Who is to blame? My name is Tracy, and you're welcome to Prosumers Forum. It is 6 minutes past 3 o'clock. Just in case you're just tuning in, it's Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM. And Prosumers Forum is that program that helps to bring producers with their product, manufacturers with their product, and for the consumer, for them to get to know about these products and services, and also for us to report cases of substandard goods and services, basically to fight for you and me. Today, I have in the house someone who is a guru on cybersecurity, all things internet, I used to look at him like all these hackers. All these hackers when you're going to school like this, when they just don't forget your laptop with them. They just type something, 1.9 something. Your system is gone. I'm talking about none other than a friend, a big brother, Andy Madaki. You're very welcome, sir.
Thank you for having me.
How are you doing?
Fine, thank you. And you?
Great. So talking about cybersecurity and internet fraud, what's up now? What's going on with this country, Sha?
You know what? So all over the world, they've taken huge hits when it comes to cybercrime. And so we've had situations where Nigeria became famous for advanced fee fraud, aka 419, aka Yahoo, aka young Nigerian prince with inheritance to share.
AKA my money, your money.
I mean, wire, and all the fancy names they have for it. But certain things lead to certain things. When we talk about cybersecurity, it's always important to see the human factor. The same reasons why people get dragged into a life of crime on the streets could also be attributed to the same reason why people do it online. And so the main problem, first of all, is a human problem where some people say, I have this beautiful degree in computer science and I don't have a job. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but from the human angle, most times it's joblessness, unemployment, which leads people to go and get involved in that. But to start this, I'll start by saying you can't scam a good person. So Tracy, you're not expecting 50 million naira from anybody in the world right now, or $50 million, and someone sends you an email saying, you know what, we have 50 million naira and they left it in your name, so you need to pay 1 million naira to get it.
Brother, you just don't know this thing. Maybe somebody from another corner had just been. See,
one
somebody
corner.
can one corner move and leave me 15 million. And I'm serious. Well, I get what you're trying to say. Yes, mostly greed that drives people to get scammed.
Yes. So you talk about the human angle, but also the person who is being scammed. What signs, what red lights and red signs did you miss before that happened? But that said, cybercrime, it's a big deal all over the world. In Nigeria, in most cases, it may not even involve financial loss. So before the 2015 elections, there was a time where the INEC website was defaced. It wasn't necessarily hacked, but it was defaced. So that's cybercrime. There are some times where someone could just take over your website. So imagine if someone takes over humanrights.org today. That's still cybercrime. So it goes beyond just the Yahoo and for financial fraud. Sometimes the reputational damage. There's also identity theft. So we are speaking and preaching about BVN and the like. So imagine if someone has access to that database and they take over your data. They could.
Ooh.
Exactly. So it's a big problem, and then coupled with the fact that most of our data, which is on the internet in Nigeria, is not being warehoused in Nigeria. So you would find out that maybe your bank or some government parastatal in charge of your passports or whatever, I'm not calling names, may have your data or database in Singapore or Malaysia or in the UK or in the US. So if they get hacked over there, we get affected as well. So it's a huge problem overall.
Now, there have been cases of, you know, how people now have businesses on Instagram, you know,
Yes.
they put up pictures, me being a shoe and bag lover. I'll not go, oh, how much? You know, they'll just tell you, and they'll not say, you know, pay before delivery and all that. You now send your money. You not be waiting for the delivery. You not be waiting. Then all of a sudden, the page just gets, what's going on? You know, so who's to blame in that conversation?
In this conversation, the person to blame is the seller, not the buyer, because this is a new trend, and I'll speak about this. But because we are learning to trust the internet and e-commerce, and Jumia, Konga, and the likes, they've done a great job. So we are learning to trust people to deliver our services. What we now need to do is that you need to find out who has bought from this one. This is why we have places like Twitter, where I see this account. I may not ask on Instagram, but I could go ask on Twitter. Has any other person used this place before? If they have testimonials, you could send someone a DM and say, did these people actually deliver to you? Because they could get their friends to do it. But even when you cross that level, there's a new scam of sorts going on online, where young boys will send a message with a girl's picture and say, I'm a student, I'm in school, I've not eaten for the last 3 days. And this is something that has happened to me. So someone sends a message. So someone sent me a message saying, I'm a student, I'm in school, I've not eaten for the last 3 days, I don't have any money, and I'm even ill. So whatever you can do to help me would be great. And then if you are kind-hearted, so for me, I wanted to experiment to see how real or fake this is. If you are kind-hearted, you may say, you know what, okay, send me an account number, I'll send stuff to you. And this person sent an account number. It was a girl's name, the name which was on the profile. And I decided, you know, let me not send something too much, something very little that if this person is a fraudster, I wouldn't feel bad. And so I sent 3,000 naira. Guess what? After 1 week, the person blocked me, changed the name to the person's original name. I had a picture of a guy. Now, I expected that was what was going on, but I needed to see how far it goes. But fast forward 2 weeks later, the person tried with someone else, and that one went CIA on the person and released the person's phone and the person's old pictures and all. So in this case, it even now affects people who want to help others. So you now need to be pessimistic and go the extra level to check this person's account. I mean, if this has been a trend, sometimes go the extra mile to Google the name. And so what I try to do, I can Google Tracy scam. I'm not saying you're a scam.
So now you're saying it now. Maybe you'll be somewhere saying scam.
Yeah, so sometimes just take that step to search on Twitter, on Instagram, and put the name and scam and see what result pops up. You'll find out that this same person has done it to several people before, and it's tough. But this now says for social media like Instagram, for instance, they now need to have a reporting system where if people are defrauded, you now have to send them a message. And so when you're registering an account, they should have your phone number. so they can report to your own state authority saying this is what this person is doing. I think that would help in the nearest future.
I remember one of the big marketing companies, Alibaba.
Yes.
I did order for something last year, and when I got the things I got weren't what I was, and I was calling all their customer care numbers. Nobody picked up. I called. They were a big company that probably had delivered to some people and had given them good service. But in this, I didn't understand what I was going to do, because I called and I had someone right next to me who had ordered stuff from them and got exactly what they required. So my complaint was like, is it that this was a bad order or something was wrong? In situations where a consumer, probably is trying to complain or lay a complaint about a certain service provider who might not have a track record.
I'll circle back to you and maybe replace it.
Okay.
And they could also get taken off those sites. I've seen that happen. Sites like Gigi, Nigeria, and some other sites where they use vendors. So that's the best case, because it may not be the overall organization, the Alibaba, the Jumia, but it could be the vendors who are selling. So you may have 3 items and 5 people buy. You collect money from 5 of them, and then you can only send 3. So what you now need to do is report it. But like I said, nobody likes bad press. But if that's the only way you get their attention, it's your money. You might as well, and it's right for you to review product. So also help other people to avoid being scammed.
Well, some critics have said that cyber crime, or rather Yahoo, is responsible for the drastic reduction in cultism in the higher institutions, and I heard it. So instead of being a cultist, just there's no need. Nobody's even going to see you. Mostly everybody just wants to go and do Yahoo. Control number, whatever it is that they are doing. And they say, well, it did good for us. It reduced violence in higher institutions, but well, here it has become a global problem, because everybody, like, it's even like a nickname. You just see a young boy in the street that is just big. Next thing, the woman, you just see the mothers on the street say, it's not that Yahoo boy. And it has become something that is so prevalent. Now, in the case where I am a victim of a Yahoo boy, how do I seek redress? Or is there any way I can even block my system, or, from certain, because I also know that there are certain websites that fish for information and all that. So these are 2 questions, How do I seek redress in the case of, if I have been defrauded of my money,
So the first one is preventive, being preventive. So you get certain emails, like I said, saying, here's your invoice for that contract, and you didn't do any contract. Don't open that attachment, because in most cases what they do is, when you open it, they may ask for your password, and by giving them your password, they help them take over your account number and your passwords, and do all whatnot which they do, which is where the phishing angle comes from. Okay. So in most cases, it's that user error where you click on certain things which you shouldn't, and they ask for your password, and you go on. And some of them, just once you click on them, they install malicious
malware.
Yes, on your system, and take over your data. Now, how do you seek redress? The EFCC has played a major role in catching these Yahoo people. And so that's what I would advise is, if you've been defrauded, send them a petition. And if possible, put it on their social media and say, this is what I've done. So send an email, go to their office. They've got one in every state, and report it to them. And then they can help you. The problem is most people don't report this as often. So you may scam your 5,000-10,000 naira from okay. It's when it gets to the large scale, people report it. I read just last week that some Nigerians sold a lagoon in Lagos for about $700 million to someone. I've also read about how some people sold a stadium in Abuja, either a stadium or an airport in Abuja, to someone abroad for about 350. So these things happen. Yes, which is why I said.
Oh my!
But that's how far it's gone.
I'm going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll go. How do you sell a lago? Like Nigerian people, there's nothing that we can't do, Sha. We'll take a short break. When we do come back, we'll keep talking.
My name is Femi Adeshino, advisor.
I'm short of words for the certain things that I have read. It's Prosumer's Forum right here on Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM. My question is, are we breeding a booming generation of scammers, of fishers, of this people who have gotten PhD in deceiving each other? I was just reading something about an EFCC arrest where they arrested one of the suspects admitted of conning a white American lady more than $450,000. You see that there's no conscience. Like, how do you take $450,000 from a person? And certain things happen is like, families, they don't even care where their sons make this money from or where their daughters make this money from. As long as they just bring money home, everybody is fine. Nobody's asking questions. Nobody wants to check, like something has just been going around on the internet, how they say you don't investigate a person's poverty. Why are you investigating the person's wealth? But then I will have to ask, because I don't get how you are making. Imagine what $450,000 is. I don't want to know how poor you were. You can't get that rich overnight. There's no possible way without any form of evidence of hard work. I don't know. I don't want to. No matter what you want to tell me, miracle, whatever, there's hard work in that conversation. And if there's no hard work, questions should be asked. So while we're up there, I was talking to you about, some of the signs, that you might know, or rather, if as an expert, what are some of the things that, you have come to, or some of the deception techniques, or some of the other scamming ways, so that maybe the listeners can just be aware of certain things?
So one of the easiest ways people use to scam, and it's one of the oldest tricks in the book, by using fine girls. So most times they get a fine girl's picture, younger, who may be their sisters or their friends, and then they put these people in front of them and use them to deceive you, give them the phone pic and all of that. As tedious as it is, until a business becomes quite known, it's important for you to, apart from seeing businesses online, try and get a phone number to call them to verify who they are. And don't just call once. You can call at the agreed time, but call at a random time when they don't expect. If you try that a couple of times, you'll find out that maybe a different person phone. And the truth of the matter is, sometimes when you see those warning signs, that means it may be fraudulent. If it's too good to be true, it is too good to be true. But so sometimes call them at random times, early in the morning, late in the evening, to see if the same person. Check online for reviews. Check their accounts. See if their followers are real followers, because people can even buy followers on the internet right now.
Is that true? Like, you can buy followers?
Yes, there are sites where you can buy followers, any amount which you want. And there are people who, some people try to get married and they just realize this is not for me anymore, and so they sell their accounts, start a new life. It's something which happens on the internet every day in this day and age.
Oh, so wow!
Yeah, so you can choose to sell your accounts today for XYZ amount because you want to live a more private life, and so all your followers become that person. They just change the name, and that's what it is. So we just need to pay more attention, really, to these signs. And you said about them talking about not investigating people's poverty. It's a shame that was said by a senator. Made a video about it. It's a shame that was said by a senator. The truth of the matter is that hard work must come in at some point.
However, fast the money is, there should be some form of work that went down there.
One day and you have 100 million naira, and then you're buying drinks worth 5 million sub every other day. It means that money is coming from somewhere, and then they tell you they're doing real estate. Yes, they should investigate them. That's why we have these agencies, and people should be able to ask questions. Otherwise, this will continue. Whether we like it or not, it affects our image, it affects our families, it affects the country, because you go outside and you're in Nigeria, and the first thing they just say is, Yahoo, Yahoo, are you a prince? And it just makes us laughing stock, because we see this thing, and then the pressure of Instagram is real. Everybody wants to impress the next person. Everybody wants to wear Gucci and all the big names.
The hush puppies,
I mean, you said it yourself, but so that pressure becomes unnecessary, and some people forget that hard work takes time. To get a very successful company will take about 10 years. So when someone appears out of the blues and you don't know what the person is, you should ask questions and compare that to your own hustle, as opposed to being pressured to do whatever they're doing, because it's short-lived.
Okay, you can be part of the conversation right now. I'm sorry I have not been picking the calls, but right now I wanted to get all this information so that when you call, you also have information in your own back pocket. 081-8999-1011. You can ask questions concerning cybercrime, security. If you have complaints, if you have issues you want resolved right here, the expert is here. Call 081 89 991011. Andy, I remember somebody was trying to teach me how, if you wanted to search for something, how you can, make it secure. That there's something called the HTTP, the different thing. What was the different? Oh, just hold on a minute. Okay. Hello. Okay, cool.
So for websites, for some websites, some are secure and some may not have a higher level of security. So some sites, let's say you want to make payments, you take HTTP colon / the website. Well,
hold on 1 minute. Hello. Hello.
Because if someone hacks your Uber, they most likely can get into your Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and all whatnot, and your mail, and maybe your internet banking. So those are the dangers. So we need to play that extra. We need to be extra cautious with our security. How many people have your passwords? I know a lot of bosses in their offices who their secretaries or their assistants have access to their emails, and so rather than them to read emails themselves, they'll send someone to go and print it out. And so the moment you insult that person one day, they take your data and sell it to someone else and all whatnot. So we now need to be careful with who has access to our devices. Most people will tell you, oh, for trust reasons, you should have a password on your phone. So say you're married, you don't have a password. But the truth of the matter is that one day you could leave that phone in a taxi and it goes outside and you may have some private moments which you don't want the rest of the world to see. So because you think you're being open, how about you have that password and just your partner knows about it, as opposed to not securing your device on its own. These days, the biggest threat is our mobile phones, because almost everything from your banking to your mails and all, it's on your device. Is your phone protected? So a celebrity loses the phone, and next thing you see pictures on the internet. The first question I would ask is, was your phone passworded? Like right now, you even have fingerprints for it, but how many people actually use them? How careful are we?
But some critics did come up with a conversation where they said, how someone was in an accident and they needed to call someone, but the phone was passworded, so they were not able to reach out to emergency call and all that, reach out to the emergency contact and all that. Yeah.
So that's a possibility, but in most cases, most people have ID cards in their wallets or some form of identification.
No, not to identify the victim, just to be able to reach out to someone, maybe call their husband or wife to say, oh, the person has been involved in an accident. They say their phones are there, but they're not able to access it to be able to call someone.
I don't think that's reasonable. Go to the police station. Call emergency services. Your security, because these are the excuses we give, and then when we have bigger problems, like that excuse wouldn't matter anymore. You understand? Some people have their ATM pin on their phone, so in that same crime scene, someone wants to call emergency.
Hello.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. What's your name?
Yes, my name is Abubakar from Kano State.
All right, Abubakar, talk to me.
Yes, please, I don't know the actual program that you were being said, you were talking about security agency.
Oh, no. We have finished that one.
Okay, we have finished that one. Okay,
yes, we have
sorry.
finished that one. Yes, Abubakar, thank you so much. Yes.
Okay.
All right, it's Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM, 33 minutes past 3 o'clock. Just a fantastic short break. We will be right back. We'll talk more about internet fraud, internet marketing, internet sales, how we have been scammed a lot, and how we have to, take caution. Do stay tuned.
My name is Femi Adeshino.
from talking about cybersecurity, internet fraud, who is to blame. Now, before we went on a break, I was trying to talk about how, there are supposed to be agencies that are set up, to help checkmate these activities on different places. For example, but for online, which agency is set up, or which institutions are set up to actually checkmate these things that are happening? Because apart from just going to report to the police, but I think that these apps or these apps should be able to have where you can make reports to be able to enable that I'm secure in doing businesses online or something like that.
I agree with you totally. I feel it's important for the apps, the social media platforms and the likes to have a reporting system where people can report when they've been defrauded. But also in Nigeria, the police force should have a cybercrime unit, which is actually active. So what has happened in the US is most time they catch these hackers, and rather than putting them in prison, they recruit them to help them, because sometimes it takes a thief to catch a thief.
That's true.
So in Nigeria, you wouldn't get somebody who doesn't know how to use a computer to catch this online scammers and these fraudsters, because they are not even in the know of it. So we now need the government and the police force to create and set up an actual unit where they focus on just cybercrime, not just fraud, but cybercrime as a whole, and get the young people to either train them or to help them find these people, because you need to be in it to know it. Like I was just talking about the darknet and you sounded surprised, but this is something that is going on. So you wouldn't come with typewriter mentality to deal with computer problems. But our law enforcement agencies need to pay more attention to it, but there should be a specific unit for it, not just an overview where you say, oh, it's the EFCC, oh, it's the police. Then it's just duplication of functions. We should have specific units.
But then talking
for it.
about this, in my last program, I was talking about trust. I don't think that our agencies have built that form of trust, communal trust, where people feel like, if I go and take these issues to these people, they will not ask me for money. Because you see how maybe you are trying to chase someone that defrauded you of 20K, you end up spending 15,000 extra, so what's the essence of even going there? Or someone defrauded you of money. I remember one fraud case that I was going with my friend, and she was talking about something of 1 million. She had already spent up to like 300,000 when she told herself, like, tell yourself the truth. Tell yourself the truth. Go back home and like nurse your wounds and all that. This might, because at the end of the day, she was about to spend up to 500,000 to catch someone who took 1.2 million. And at the end of the day, that person might not even be able to return that money to her. So what was the essence of doing that whole work?
Trust is a big issue. Trust with the internet and also trust with law enforcement. So, and some people are doing some work to fix that. I belong to a community called the Global Shapers Community. And so over the last 3 years, we've had something called the Amana Initiative, where we've created programs to try and build confidence between young people and the law enforcement agencies. So yes, we hear the police is your friend, but how are we building this relationship? How are the law enforcement agencies building these relationships with the young people? And so it's a continuous process where we need the law enforcement agencies to show that they are teachable, and for them to understand that these young people are the same ones who can teach them. And so we are putting together, for instance, like a training to train them on technology, the proper technologies, so that they'll be abreast of what's going on. It's when they know what really is going on, they'll be able to help fix your problem. Because, for instance, your name is Tracy, but your name could be Abdul Malik on the internet, and so it becomes harder to find. So you need to understand this system. So before we even talk about confidence, we need the law enforcement agencies and officers to understand how the ecosystem, how the tech space works, first of all, and then liaise with different young people and organizations and also the media to help fix this problem. So it's a gradual process, but I feel we'll get there.
I was telling someone day before yesterday that if I remember one time someone said it some years ago that if the internet shut down now in Nigeria, nobody really cares. But today, the internet actually shut down for one day in Nigeria. It will be chaotic.
So last month, for just about an hour, WhatsApp was down. And everyone was going crazy. And so that's just a subsection of the internet. Whether we like it or not, we've become very dependent on the internet. So our banks, so you go to the bank to make a transfer sometime, and they tell you the system is down, and you see the chaos in the bank. So we've become quite reliant. Our mobile phones, internet penetration, we have 90 million internet users in Nigeria. So there's a huge dependence. For me, for instance, I'm useless without the internet. And so if the internet goes down, yes, we'll have massive problems. It would affect a whole lot of us because, like the Instagram and online businesses they're talking about, they all need the internet to work.
So am I to advise people to have an alternative option? For example, yeah, because you see, these things I like to have a plan B, C, D, even to Z.
Yeah.
Because if my business is on Instagram, I should want to also have an alternative to internet that can fail. As long as anything is man-made, it can fail. So I like to make sure that is it possible for us to, keep our because when you talk about the darknet now, it leads me to believe that like with all the conversations that are coming of how a situation can happen where the internet actually shut down because it looks like we're controlled right now by the robotics, by the internet. We're controlled by the global space. So which means that someone can decide to say, let me show Nigerians what they are going to do and shut us down, and then say the only way you can, is to say you're going to vote for me. Vote for me and bring back internet to your community, and we can be controlled. So what's the option? What's the other option?
Well, the truth of the matter is that we need to embrace this technology. But one other option, for instance, like for people in business, is customer service. And so when people order for your product, sometimes go that extra mile to get their phone numbers and call them. Don't just tell them, oh, call me on this number. How about you get their phone numbers and call them? That way you're building a contact list, a database, which after that you save that person's number and say, okay, this is XYZ customer. So that the day your social media page, for instance, gets hacked, you can send a quick text to all your customers saying we are temporarily offline. So customer service plays that major role. Not everybody would be able to buy or build stores, but that's also another option. But if the internet isn't there, use your phone, still make those calls.
I mean, I know that if the internet goes down today, I'm fine.
I'm not.
I'm fine. The reason why I'm fine is because constantly I have tried to I'm so scared of being controlled. Which is great. I'm constantly, leaving my phone at home, just not be bothered about it. Like I told myself, if someone wants to reach me, they'll find a way to reach me. Because I remember years and years ago, decades of years ago, nobody cared about these things. We had a fantastic life. People who got married, had kids, raised families without it. But all of a sudden, it's like, people like Andy cannot do without it. But thank you so much, Andy. What are your last words for an internet user who doesn't want to be recorded?
Just be careful. When we hear hacking, the TV screens the shows make it look like someone just sits down and presses XYZ buttons and magic happens. The biggest threat to the internet is human error. You may have know what devices you use, know what information you put on other people's devices, and know who you give access to your personal information. That's what I would advise. The biggest problem is human error. Sometimes it's social engineering. Someone could call you and say they're from MTN and we're trying to fix your email. Please give us your password. So is that human error, first of all, before they even to the cyber part of it. So just be careful and double check and ask questions.
Be careful and double check and also ask questions. Thank you so much, Andy Madaki. He is a cybersecurity specialist, a tech guru. Also a big brother who has been around town. It has been a wonderful time right here on Prosumers Forum. Coming up next is Telephone Vanel with the Ordinary President right here on Human Rights Radio 101.1. Do stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Bringing together Nigeria's producers, consumers, and the regulatory bodies, discussing their challenges and common goals. The question of who gets value from the service provider to the final consumer remains unanswered. But we've got the answer.
start. My country people, time don't reach where I go carry my